Hello friends, this is Cara-Renee with B.Reborn Art and Healing, coming to you with my Sunday's Art of Truth for December the 19th. I'm going to be using pieces again from the Winter Wonderland kit by My Porch Prints, but I'm going to be creating this mixed media piece using an old frame. This is a frame that I got at the Goodwill, and I'm going to make, I saw this in one of the groups I'm in, where a person took this, it's standing up like a frame, and then it's a mixed media collage. So that's what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to be collaging this with papers, and I'll be using some crackle paint or some crackle, One Step Crackle by Deco Art. My mixed media tends to go kind of not a straight and narrow path. So if that happens, I will be doing a lot of not talking, so I can speed the video up and do a little bit more editing to edit out unnecessary things for you guys. So we'll be using the quinacridone Nicolazo Gold again, and I believe I'm going to be using this quinacridone Crimson. This looks really orange, but it's not. It's a really deep, rich red. And then I'm going to be using this Distress Collage Medium in Vintage from Ranger. I've never used it before, but I thought it would give an automatic vintage look to this deal. So the cool part about this is I can basically come over this with a solid piece of paper, because I'm going to be let me explain a little bit more. So this opening is going to be covered. I took a piece of corrugated cardboard and I went ahead and pulled some of the papers off of the top layer, and I'm going to put that right there. And then on top of that, we're going to have this piece, I think. I'm not absolutely sure yet. And then on top of that, we're going to have this heart. The theme of this Sunday's Art of Truth is the promise, which is love. So you can check out the blog for the inspiration for this piece, but I'll be, as I work through the creative process, that is what I'm processing, is I'm processing the love of God and how he sent his son to the earth as a tiny babe to love us, to teach us love, to show us love, to give us free will, give us a beautiful life. Sometimes that comes with hardship. Often it comes with hardship. But the beautiful gift that he gave us was free will, choice, and the ability to choose to walk with him and to allow him to love us and to heal us. And so, again, this is the promise. I'm not going to put any sentiment on it, I don't believe. So let's just get going. I did already gesso this piece of cardboard. It is still a little tacky. So I'm trying to get this done it's Thursday night before the Sunday, and realized that I hadn't done it yet. And we've got grandkids coming over for a sleepover, 5 of them, tomorrow night, Friday night. So I won't have any chance to do any crafting while they're here. So in terms of videos, so we will be crafting because that's what we do together, but that's another story. So I'm just going to grab my tear ruler here really quick, and I'm going to go ahead and speed through this part, but I'm going to go ahead and do some collaging on this board, but I'm going to first start with tearing my papers. I'm going to go ahead and ink all of the edges of my papers. The idea of this piece was to be able to see a lot more of these papers than I ended up seeing in the end, but that is also the nature of mixed media. You create your background, and oftentimes the background is sacrificed for the final project. So that's what happened here. And I do apologize for the voiceover. One, this video was about an hour and 40 minutes long, and I couldn't post it like that. So I have edited it about 6 times, and that was in between having my grandkids here, and we lost power on Friday night right before they were ready to come over, so I didn't get that time between work and the kids arriving to be able to work on this. So I did the best I could. It's a little bit choppy, but I hope that you'll get the essence and that you'll still be able to follow the inspiration for the project. So just finishing up the inking here. And we're going to go ahead and adhere these papers onto this frame. And so what I did is I just took a frame that I purchased at Goodwill, and I'm just collaging over the front of it with all of these collage papers, as you're going to be able to see here. I pulled out my vintage collage medium from Ranger, and I'm using that to go ahead and adhere my papers. I did realize that I probably didn't want to use just that because it's a small jar and I didn't want to waste it. So I did pull out my matte medium and I went back and forth between the two. So you'll be seeing that as we move along. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you listen to the music and watch as we put these papers on that frame. And it is those really dark passages of color there with that really deep kind of midnight blue that are the parts that end up showing in the final project. When you peek through the texture, it's really, really gorgeous. So it ended up being a lot darker than I had intended, but again, that often happens for me. So, and I was just there, I apologize for the talking hands, but there are several steps in this process because I'm working on the base that you just saw, the frame, and then I've got this corrugated cardboard that I went ahead and tore some of the top layer off and roughly tore it into the shape that it is, and then I covered it with gesso so that it would be able to take the medium, the paint, and things like that. That's what gesso does, is it creates a barrier between the surface and the paint or liquid that you're applying. So I thought that the collage medium would be useful here, but it's so thin that you can hardly really see it, so that was kind of a moot point, but we just continue on. So. And I'm going to go ahead and use my DecoArt crackle paint here to go ahead and do my favorite thing, which is to apply these beautiful cracks along the surface here of this cardboard. And that plaque there that you see, I really wanted to use it, and you're going to see in the video that I do prep it, and I didn't cut any of that out because, again, I'm trying to be completely transparent, allow you guys to see what the true process looks like, especially with mixed media. And so that you could see the crackle process that I was doing on that. I did not end up using it. It was too big. So as I'm mentioning there, I just thought we would talk through it anyway, even though we're not going to, I don't end up using it on the project. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to do a crackle on here, but with a crackle medium. So I thought I could start with this quinacridone nickel azo gold that's a fluid acrylic. But then when I pick up the instructions on the crackle medium, the paint has to be heavier than what I'm using here in order to get the crackle effect that we want. So I am going to add some bleached titanium to the quinacridone nickel azo gold there and apply a thick layer of that. So that's what I'm doing. And I was just toying between two different products there. I went for the one that I'm most familiar with, which is the DecoArt two-step crackle medium. So I'm using the bleached titanium here. It's just a kind of a neutral cream color, and just giving that a heavy coat, and then we'll set that aside and let it dry. And I do, again, just to keep the video being somewhat linear and easy to follow, I just left those parts in, and I'm setting that aside to dry, and I do bring it back into frame many times so that you can see what the crackle is doing and what the next step is. So here we waited for that to dry, and then we are going to go ahead and apply the actual crackle medium, which is a clear gel, and then you want to apply it fairly thick, which is what I'm doing here, and then we're going to set that aside as well. And here we're going to go ahead and apply some paint to this texture. Here's the close-up of the crackle, the cracks. I love it. Absolutely gorgeous. This is going to be a little shocking because the quinacridone nickel azo gold is very, very bright. But in the end product, it tied together beautifully. At least I think so. I was really happy with how the project turned out. Again, it did not turn out the way that I planned, which often happens with my mixed media, but that's kind of the fun of it too. There's a freedom in letting go of kind of the preconceived ideas about a project and just kind of going with it and not stressing about what didn't work or what you had intended that didn't happen. It's all art. It's all beautiful. It usually ends well. I was talking in real time through the video about the what you might consider a fail in mixed media. I've got a lot of canvases, a lot of wood panels that I just have in a bin down in the garage because they were failures. They were things that I didn't like, and I just couldn't do any more with them. And those are things that I often will go back and get out and repurpose them, do another layer of something, or create something else with them. So they don't go to waste, but they do get kind of set aside in a safe place for a time. And that's just the nature of creating. Sometimes we don't like what we create, and that's okay. And we can just try again. So at least that's my theory. So I have this wood heart, and I'm going to go ahead and apply this paper that I already cut into the shape of the heart. I just traced it.
And it is the same paper that I've used in some of the ephemera videos for the journals that I've been making. And it's got a lot of texture to it, so it's quite beautiful in the end. Just painting the edges of that heart with the quinacridone Nicolazo Gold just to give a first coat of paint there. I do come back with another color later on. So we're going to go ahead and adhere that paper onto the heart. I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac here because the paper is very porous and almost cottony like, so this worked out really well. There's blue coming through the nozzle of the glue, and that's just what was probably in the bottom of that cup. When I'm creating, I tip it over and I leave it in there like that, so it does get some stuff off of the bottom of that bottle as it builds up. And I do have to come back and kind of trim that off later when it's nice and dry. So here I'm going to come in. I did realize that I had some paper that was lifting. You'll see me fix that a little bit later. We're just going to come in with some of the crackle paint and add some crackle to the base. And as usual with my mixed media, I tend to go overboard with the three-dimensional texture, and I'm never sorry that I do that. Like, I love it. I never get tired of it, but this piece might have turned out a little bit softer if I had not put quite so much crackle paint, because we lost a lot of the paper, as I mentioned before, that I had wanted to have show through so that you could see that this was wintry paper and so on. But I still am just thrilled with the way that the piece turned out. So no worries there. I'm really happy with it. And then we'll go ahead and set this aside to dry naturally, and then we will go back to one of the other pieces. I can't remember which one we went back to. So this is the cardboard again, and it is dry. And I believe now we're going to go ahead and do a raw umber glaze using my golden fluid acrylic in raw umber and my golden glazing medium. And often when people see this step for the first time, they kind of freak out because I do put that brown paint combination across on the whole surface, and people kind of can catch their breath. I did it in a mixed media class that I taught, and people were like, they wanted me to do it because they were afraid, and then they were like, oh, I don't know if I want you to do it, it's going to ruin it. But it doesn't, because the glazing medium actually allows you to paint this on. It seeps into all that texture and all those cracks and crevices, and then you can wipe up what you don't want. It comes right back off the surface. So it's really, really great product. So there you can see I'm just pulling that back, and then I'm going to go in with a second coat. So I did want to say, just while I'm doing this and in the voiceover, on Friday on my way home from work, I did get the news that my friend that I've talked about in other videos, who is 80, I think she's 83 years old this year, she had brain surgery. She had a tumor, and it looks like she is nearing the end. And so I got that news on my way home from work via text message from a friend of mine who has been taking care of her. And it really ties into this project and into the word on this project, which is the promise. And even though it's associated with Christmas and Jesus being born, the promise, part of the promise that I hold on to is that I will get to see my loved ones again. And so I'll be writing about that in the Sunday's Art of Truth. So you can hop over to the blog and check that out. So here we were ready for the next step of the crackle on this plaque. I was going to use this bleached titanium, but the consistency of it was really weird, and it was just not going to work for this. So I thought, wow, I want that red in there. So I'm pulling out my Deco Art Americana paint in alizarin crimson, one of my favorite colors. And I'm going to go ahead and just apply a really thick layer of that paint on top of this. And then we will again set this piece aside for natural drying. And when you're using this medium, you want to make sure that you're not going over and over and over the same spot. I probably overworked it a little bit here, but the key is to just get it on there and then set it aside and not play around, because when you play around with it, you move the medium that's underneath it, and it affects the final outcome. So coming back to the base piece, I was just showing you a little bit of the crackle that was already happening. Again, I did cut out parts of the video, so nothing important. I left all the important stuff out, or important stuff in. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a layer of the, oh my goodness, the glaze using the raw umber again and the golden fluid acrylic. I toyed with the idea of doing it with the Payne's Gray, which is that gray blue that I've used in some of the junk journaling and the journal ephemera projects that I've done recently, mixed media projects, but I decided to go ahead and go with my vintagey raw umber mixture here. So again, putting it all over the surface, and then we'll be able to wipe it off. And I just use a baby wipe. I go through a lot of them when I'm doing mixed media, but it works the best in my opinion. You could also use a damp paper towel or a damp towel totally. You wouldn't need to have baby wipes. So, and then I was just kind of pointing there to that center because I had to be cognizant of the fact that that center there is hollow. There's nothing there because that's where the glass would have been. So I'm kind of moving around that gingerly so that I don't break through it. Although it wouldn't have been a big deal because it's going to be covered over both back and front, but I wanted to keep that intact. So just applying a second layer here. And each layer that you do allows that brown to get into the cracks and creates that really vintage look, that really aged feel. And on this wiping, I am just kind of dabbing, and I'm not being as aggressive in pulling the paint mixture off because I wanted it more of the paint to stay, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, and I'm also doing this voiceover right after 5 of the grandkids were here for a sleepover last night and into today. It's about 5 o'clock on Saturday night, and so I'm a little tired. Didn't sleep much last night, but I really wanted to get this video out, so we're just going to push on through. So there's just a close-up of that layer of that the texture. I love the grunge. I love the plaster look, like it almost looks like a plaster wall that's really aged and all of that. So there I'm just holding that up, looking at the cracks, showing you the cracks a little bit. It was a beautiful process, but I think the problem with the plaque was that it was too big for the piece of cardboard. But you will see me keep bringing it out because at this point I had not yet decided if I was going to use it or not. Coming in with the quinacridone nickel gold again, because as you can see, we lost a lot of that color. So I can't bring back the light in the dark places, but I can bring in that gold in the places that are lighter, which there's a meaning there, as I just said that, like we can't bring back the light out of the dark places. Like we can't go back in time, right? We can't undo our choices. We can't change history, but we can apply light and we can apply truth and we can spread love in new places in our world and in our lives. And I love that. And I love my favorite thing about art is that I get to kind of follow this journey of discovery in how inanimate objects like paint and water and all these mediums, what they say to us, what they speak if we're listening. And I never wanted my art to just be an action. I wanted my art to be meaningful in a healing way, not only for myself, but for other people who are watching or who need to be encouraged. So I'm so grateful that I get to do that. So there, I came in with the Payne's Gray in the fluid acrylic as well. Because I wanted to incorporate that color. Glad I did. You're going to see me come back in with the quinacridone nickel gold again because it got dark. And here I'm just talking, I think, about the texture. And I was trying to make room on my, I know what I was doing here. Because the base went so dark, we lost all that text that was underneath that was a part of the original papers that I'm getting this stamp out. It's one of my favorite Paris stamps, and it is linked in the just the supply list, the mixed media supply list under the video, or not under the video, over on my blog in the supply list. Sorry, guys. So I'm just using my black archival ink and just inking that up, and then putting those words around the whole base, other than the middle, obviously, that I didn't want to poke through. And I'll hold that up for you here in just a second. There we go. So you can just see this. You can't read it. You can't tell what it really says, but it adds a lot of dimension to the piece and a lot of interest, I think. So yeah, that's what I like to do. And I was also talking in real time about the 16 brushes that I had piling up in my water bucket to my right, because I use so many brushes when I do mixed media, but it's okay. It's what works for me. So, and here again, I'm considering, do I really want to use that plaque? Showing you the crackle again. It crackled beautifully, but it just wasn't, it didn't fit. It just didn't feel right. So, so now I'm going to come in with the, this is the Deco Art Americana in, I guess I went back to the Payne's Gray. Sorry, guys. This is the Payne's Gray. I'm just coming around the edges of the cardboard piece. This is a piece of corrugated cardboard. And I'm just kind of inking up, not inking, but putting a little layer of paint around just to kind of frame that a little bit and give it a little bit of a dark border. And then drying that really quick. And then I'm going to come in with this is, alizarin crimson from Americana, Deco Art Americana craft paint. It's a great line of paint and not too expensive if you guys are looking for a really dependable craft paint that is not too expensive and has a wide variety of colors. They're amazing. Hobby Lobby carries a lot of their colors, so you can definitely get them there. So just going around the surface and a little bit here and there on the base, because my heart is red. So I wanted to make sure that all the bits, the base, the cardboard, and the heart all looked like they belonged together, which I believe that they did. As I'm doing the voiceover, I'm looking at it right now, and it's just stunning to look at. If I don't to say so myself, it's crazy. So there, as I'm just looking again, and it just doesn't feel right. It just feels too big. So I think that's the point that I did ditch the idea here, is I'm just going to take that plaque off and go with the cardboard itself. And then so I'm coming in again with that alizarin crimson around the edges of the base piece, which is the frame part of the project. I was toying with the idea of switching out to another paint, but I liked the alizarin crimson better. So I'm putting it on, wiping it off. It looked a little bit too pinky, that color, so I went back to the alizarin crimson there. And again, all of these supplies will be listed over on my blog in the supply list. And that being said, the supply list within the particular video, for the particular video, is kind of at the top. And then I have a basic mixed media supply list and then a basic junk journaling supply list. So those are kind of my most often used products in each of those categories. But if you're looking for something specific to the project, you'll find it right under the photos if you're over on my blog. So, and there again, looking at it, deciding, nope, not going to do it. So wow, that really went back and forth, but I really wanted to leave that in so that you guys could see what that process looks like, and kind of struggling with, okay, what am I going to do? Where am I going with this? What am I willing to kind of sacrifice in the process to get the result that I want? So coming in around that heart with the raw umber, it's just a bit more of that paint that's with the glaze, just to give it a dark edge. And off camera, I had trimmed around the heart so that it's fit the wood bit there. And I used a little bit of a sand block to kind of smooth out the edges along the frame of that heart. So not sure what I was reaching for there. Voiceovers are always so challenging because I don't know what I can't remember what I was actually talking about. So I'm coming in, that's just the raw umber again. I just came over the top of the heart because it's a textured paper. And then it was too much, it was too dark. So I did wipe a little bit of that off, which worked just fine. You do have to be careful because that surface was not protected from water. So here coming in with more of that quinacridone nickel gold from Golden Fluid Acrylic. And just kind of, again, where I can lighten up the surface, I'm going to do that. And I think it was just fine. It's a very glowing piece when it's done. It's very vibrant and very bright. And the passages of color between the really dark and the gold is gorgeous. So I am coming in with my gold. This is Golden Fluid Acrylic in a gold iridescent fine. And I'm just using my finger again to skip that paint around the edges. This was definitely a really good step in the process because it added a lot of character to the whole project, because I do this around the cardboard as well as around the base piece, being the frame. So, and I want to give credit to the person I saw this. Her name is Saveri, and she's over on in a Facebook group. And I apologize, I'll try to remember what group she's in, but she's the one that does uses frames and does collaging on them, and they stand up and they're beautiful. They're a great table piece. So I wanted to do that. I'll probably do it a lot more. This was a particularly big frame, but I chose it because of the project that I was doing, and what I had in mind. So just again, I'm using that iridescent gold fine around the edges of the base piece. And then just wiping, making sure that this frame already had a really good dark edge, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't affect that negatively. So I was just wiping that to make sure. We're going to go ahead and adhere that piece, I think. Oh, here, a little bit of gold on top of the heart. I apologize, some of that was off camera. I get really in the zone when I'm doing mixed media, especially if it kind of goes sideways. I get a little bit more focused on what I'm doing, and I'm not quite as cognizant of the camera as I'd like to be, but I think you can get the basic idea. They're just bending that a little bit because when you put a lot of mediums and wet mediums on cardboard, just like with paper, it's kind of curls and it gets bent and stuff. So I was just kind of bending that back so I could adhere it really easily. So there, I was just showing you that I'm using my Liquitex matte gel to glue this onto the base. It holds the best. So I was going to use my Fabri-Tac, but then I'm like, yeah, I'm attaching cardboard to layers of paint and texture medium, and so I thought the gel medium would be, or the matte gel would be the better choice. Just like so. And so I do want to mention this will be a giveaway. Unless I'm doing a journal spread, I am pretty much giving away all my Sunday's Art of Truth pieces because people like them. And again, I want to inspire people. And if having a piece of my art inspires people and brings them healing, then I want that. I have no need for it myself. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like to be in the drawing for this, you just need to be a subscriber, a public subscriber on my channel. You need to like the video and leave a meaningful comment about what the piece meant to you, or just something that's engaging. And if you've been watching my channel, you know kind of what I mean there. So, and there's just some close-up photos for you. Thank you guys so much. Take care. Bye-bye.